Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us on episode 41 of Health Talk with Dr. Kell. We are in the middle of a What Is series. In episode 38, we discussed what is chiropractic. In episode 39, we discussed what is acupuncture. In episode 40, we talked about what is hypnosis. This week, in episode 41, we're discussing what is naturopathy. Welcome, everybody, to Health Talk with Dr. Kell. I'm Nikki Sterner, and this is podcast 41 on what is naturopathy. Hi, Dr. Kell.
Hi, Nikki.
How are you?
Good. Are you having a good week?
Yes, a great week.
Awesome.
One of the best, yeah. Before we get started, let's do the quote of the day. Okay, it's "Live the wonderful life that is inside you" by Oscar Wilde. What do you think of that, Dr. Kell?
When I think of that, I think of what we dream of, what we hopes are, when you're young and a kid and you see the world and everything seems magical and you're taught about Santa Claus and all the other things that aren't actually real, but you believe or think they are when you're young, or you see people living lives, you watch movies and you imagine and you think of what your possibilities are. Some achieve those completely as they go through their life. They decide what they want to do and they do it. Others, it's a progressive thing, right? So what do you think of that?
Yeah, just listening to you talk reminds me of like quotes like dream, believe, achieve. Like it's all coming from within. Like, like you said, you're watching movies, you're being creative within, like coming up with what you think your life should be, and then do it, live it.
Yes, have you ever read the book or watched the movie called The Secret?
No, that sounds familiar, though. I feel like I've heard of it. What is it about?
You need to watch it or read the book. It's awesome. It's all about that. It's all about your belief system in your mind. What if you really believe you can do something and you stay focused on it, you can do it. And you've got to believe, and you've got to not allow failure to stop you in what you want to do, whether it has to do with your health or goals in your career or relationships. You can make it happen if you want to. You just have to make a plan, decide what it is you want, what you want to accomplish, and believe you can do it, and keep on it until it's done, like climbing a mountain. At least that's my perspective.
Yeah.
So it's all there in your mind, your spirit, everything inside you has the ability to achieve what you want to if you believe strongly enough and are willing to fight hard enough to get it. I mentioned, a religious leader had said, after much tribulation cometh a blessing. And I always thought, what does that really mean? To me, it means through hard work, you ultimately can achieve your goals. There are many things in life that aren't easy, and the ones that aren't easy often give you the most benefit when you accomplish them, right? Because you worked harder to get there, and so that it makes you even stronger.
Yeah, and they stick more. The lessons stick more when they're harder.
And for some reason, the thought came into my mind, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
That's so true.
We're both still here, so.
Yep. Awesome. Okay, do you have an article of the day?
We do. Today we're talking about vitamin C. Everybody knows about vitamin C these days, it seems like, one thing or another. There's an article, NCBI, and we'll talk more about who they are later, but basically it's a government agency that keeps track of things, writes articles, and gives you updated information. We don't always trust our government anymore, or their ability to evaluate things properly or well, as there's so many good things out there that they put down and so many poor things that they approve. But in the 1920s, vitamin C was identified by the prospective Nobel laureate Albert Senz, of course I'm butchering his names, from the university in Hungary. He's the person who initially did the research that showed that vitamin C could help scurvy. They isolated it from citrus, started giving people who were in environments where there wasn't much citrus fruit, and then isolated it and began manufacturing it as ascorbic acid. And I want to talk a little bit about ascorbic acid, how it actually is not in and of itself vitamin C, even though we call it vitamin C. Natural sources of vitamin C are, of course, all citrus fruit. Kiwi, mango, strawberries, papaya, tomatoes, green leafy vegetables, which we're always promoting. Broccoli, high levels of vitamin C in them. And interestingly enough, if you look at the human body and other vertebrates, many animals on the earth manufacture their own vitamin C from glucose. But human beings, for some reason, also guinea pigs cannot create the vitamin C themselves, and so you have to ingest it. I tell people your best source for vitamins is through the food you eat. We go back again to companies like Standard Process who produce supplements in combination. They use the actual food to create their supplements. They don't break it down like so many companies that manufacture the synthetic forms. Therefore, you get it as a whole food in the supplement itself. And so you have a combination of things. When you eat an orange, there's vitamin C in there. And they work in combination. God did it that way. Put it all together, and then man decided to separate it all and just find the one thing they think is good for you and get rid of all the rest. Well, the body needs the rest too. Follow that process. It's considered in a diet that you get anywhere from 100 to 200 milligrams of vitamin C per day that your body needs. But vitamin C has many benefits and qualities. Vitamin C is antimicrobial, thus reducing the risk of infection, and helps reduce inflammation in the gut, helps and benefit the good flora and not the bad, and helps improve organ function just overall. Improves your white blood cell count, which is also important when we're talking about immunity these days with COVID and other viruses and bacteria that are constantly affecting us and harming us. Goes on, the benefits of vitamin C. But again, everybody goes to the store and just buys a bottle of vitamin C. It says vitamin C on the bottle, but it's really not whole vitamin C. It's not natural vitamin C. So I tell people you need to get it in its natural form from organic sources, and most of the vitamin C that you'll buy over the counter today is not that. So it's missing things. You hear in the news too about salmonella poisoning, often coming from things like chicken and other meats, and sometimes on eggs. Vitamin C also is anti-salmonella. Here, let me just go through the summary here. I think this will give you everything you want to know. Do you have any questions or comments before I...
No, that's good so far. Thank you.
Here's the conclusion of this article. For a few vertebrate species, including humans, to synthesize vitamin C themselves during evolution. Of course, if you're an evolutionist, that's what you believe. I'm not. God made us that way. However, vitamin C supplementation is well tolerated and safe, given a virtual absent risk of intoxication under uncompromised renal function. It's interesting. Sometimes these things get a little too scientific, so maybe not everybody understood what that last sentence just meant. One of the things that ascorbic acid, high concentrations of it, some scientific studies have shown that actually can damage your vascular system, that your blood vessels can be damaged by that type of vitamin C, but when you get it from a natural source, that doesn't happen. So I tell people, just want to buy the cheap stuff over the counter, don't overdose on it. Keep it at 100 to 200 milligrams a day. Some people will they think, oh, it's going to help me, it's got all these benefits, antimicrobial, antiviral effects, I'm going to take 3,000 milligrams a day, and that's when you need to be, you may be causing harm to your system by taking too much. Basically, we've covered it. I believe it was Hippocrates said, food is your medicine, medicine is your food. So start with that. Go eat well, eat right, and you can avoid lots of problems over time.
That's funny because I always go and get like a big bag of oranges or those little mini ones, the little cuties, if somebody gets sick. And I'm like, okay, have a couple of these in the morning, a couple in the afternoon.
And I mentioned overdosing. I don't think you can necessarily overdose eating the fruits necessarily. Your body's going to use what it needs and expel what it doesn't. I had COVID a few weeks ago. I believe it was the Omicron version just because it was the mild one. I had headache and chills one day, and then felt fatigue for a few days afterwards. But I also got a rash on my chest, which is very strange.
Oh, interesting.
Like little pimples all over my chest. But I've been eating right now in California, all the citrus fruit is on the trees, and I really like tangerines or mandarin oranges, just because they're easy to peel and they're sweet, and had patients bringing them in. I've been probably eating 10 of those a day. I just really like them throughout, eating them throughout the day, and my rash is almost gone. Now, whether that's just run the course of COVID or not, I don't know for sure. Appears something I've never had before, and something appeared probably about 4 or 5 days after I had a positive test, but pretty much gone now. Did the mandarin oranges I was eating help? Yes, I think they may have. Do I know for sure? No. You draw conclusions. It may have just run its course.
Another thing too is, you eat healthy all the time. If my kids were to get sick and I I'm like, okay, we got to clean it up. So you start taking away the snacky foods and you incorporate the fruit, like I said, like the oranges or whatever. And even just taking away the not as healthy or the sugary foods, I think definitely helps the immune system, right, to recover.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the junk, it's the processed foods that affect your immune system in a negative way. Probably part of what led them to becoming ill to begin with, because
Yeah.
their immune system wasn't functioning at optimum, and then they were exposed to a bacteria or virus and they succumbed to it. Definitely removing all that. That's something I tell patients they should immediately do. You get sick, you want to stop eating all the junk. You want to immediately eliminate it because you want your immune system to be stronger. And if you're eating a lot of processed foods, your immune system then has to deal with ridding itself of those things. It's going to use what it can and it's going to expel what it can't. Your immune system is part of the expeller system too. If it's having to work to expel toxins and work to overcome the effects of a bacteria or virus, you're given it a double whammy, and you're likely going to be sick longer because of that as well.
That makes sense. Yeah. All right. So what is naturopathy?
What is naturopathy? What do you think naturopathy is?
I think naturopathy has something to do with a more natural type of medicine. I don't know if that means totally no prescription medicine or if it means adding in herbs and other things, but that's my guess.
Good guess. The first naturopathic school was started in 1956. Over time, it's developed into Doctor of Naturopathy, is taught. I'm kind of amazed when I read up on it and learned a bit more about it. It's a 4-year program, basically equivalent to medical school in many ways, but its focus is more on let's take a natural approach before you give you a drug. So it ties right in with chiropractic, acupuncture, nutritionists, etc., etc. The whole perspective there, the difference is they're taught in school how to prescribe those medications for standard illness. So what a general practitioner, medical doctor, family practice doctor would learn and use in his 4 years of medical school, that's what a naturopathic doctor also learns. But on top of that, they learn all kinds of other things along with learning the natural way to heal things. Something else we're going to talk about today, which is used by a naturopath, is homeopathy. Now, we'll get into that too, but I'm going to read a few things about naturopathic doctors. They're educated and trained in accredited naturopathic medical colleges. They diagnose, prevent, and treat acute and chronic illness to restore and establish optimal health by supporting the person's inherent self-healing process. Rather than just suppressing symptoms, naturopathic doctors work to identify underlying causes of illnesses and develop personalized treatment plans to address them. Their therapeutic order identifies the natural order in which all therapies should be applied to provide the greatest benefit with the least potential for damage. That definition could fit pretty much any natural health healer. We focus on what we talked so many times about, looking for natural ways to help the body heal. Remove the interference or supply the needed help to the body so the body can heal itself. Falls right into that process. Here's some other things about it. There's 7 different things added in here. I'll just share. Remove obstacles to health. Health, the natural state of one's body, is disturbed by obstacles that lead to disease. The first step in returning to health is to remove the entities that disturb health, such as poor diet, digestive disturbances, inappropriate and chronic stress levels, and individual disharmony. Naturopathic doctors construct a healthy regimen based on individuals' obstacles to health to change and improve the terrain in which the disease develops. This allows additional therapeutics to help the most beneficial effects possible. As I've gone through all this information about a naturopathic doctor, their focus is, to say again, on helping you find a natural way of healing. Now, a naturopath in certain states could just serve as a medical doctor if he wanted to and just prescribe drugs. But in other places, the majority of them focus on natural ways to heal the body, doing what we do today, what Dr. Ingrid, my wife, and I do. We focus on the nutritional benefits. When I became a chiropractor, I was taught more about dealing with the spine and the joints and manipulation and how that can benefit the neurological function and blood flow in the body by doing those things. And in school, you're taught nutrition. A lot of chiropractors are just focused on the manipulation aspect and its benefits to the health of the body, and it is very beneficial, but I have become more like a naturopath in that way. We're looking for all the things that can benefit the body and the body's health, and helping the body to heal itself through nutritional means, through emotional means, and through physical therapies such as manipulation. When I use physical therapy, don't confuse that with physical therapists. They tend to just do stretches and exercises with people. We do more therapies, and we'll talk about physical therapists. What is a physical therapist in the future too? But don't want to get off track here. Basically, a naturopath focuses on these things. I did find an article that said 10 myths about naturopaths, and I'd like people to understand and know really what a naturopath is. A lot of people don't. They don't recognize that they are taught about prescribing medications, so in many ways they're like a medical doctor in that way, but their focus is more trying to figure out how to help you without those things, but they can prescribe those things if needed in many states. Here's a myth. See, one of the most common questions we get is if you can complete your naturopathic medical education online. While some prerequisites may be taken online, the degree itself is hands-on training to become a doctor. So then that's their 4 years of training. That was one myth. Another common myth about naturopathic medicine is that it is not scientific or evidence-based. Regulated naturopathic doctors go through rigorous 4-year scientific-based medical education at an accredited school by the Council on Naturopathic Medical Education. Naturopathic doctors are not anti-drug, anti-pharmaceutical. You'll find that most chiropractors are.
Okay.
Can't speak for the acupuncturists in general. Most chiropractors are anti-drug, anti-pharmaceutical in the sense of not everything, of course, but so many things have side effects, so many things create more problems than they help. We're more for the holistic approach of looking, just like going back to don't separate the vitamin C out of the fruits or vegetables that carry it. Eat the fruits and vegetables that carry it, or get them in a pill form, in a dried form that still gives you the benefit as a supplement rather than just getting the synthetic version. Whereas the medical community loves to just, it always goes back to the money, as I say, too. It's so easy. Let's go find that thing in the middle of the jungle in the Amazon that, that rare fruit or herb or plant or root or whatever. And instead of taking it and grinding it up like the Aborigines do, and then finding benefit from it, let's find, there's got to be one thing inside there that if we can just isolate it, then we can patent it, and then we can sell it that way and make billions of dollars, and only we can sell it, and nobody else can. 2 problems there. It tells you then they're just focused about money, and the other is they lose out on all the other things that are within that God-created plant or fruit or vegetable that the human body needs it all to heal, not just that one thing. And then there's no side effect.
That's huge.
Anyway, see, another myth. Addictions that do not regulate the naturopathic profession. Individuals without accredited training sometimes use the title naturopath or naturopathic doctor. These individuals should not be confused with graduates from CNME recognized 4-year programs and do not complete the standardized education of accredited programs. Some are using the term when they're really not licensed. Naturopathic physicians are an integrated component of healthcare team and work alongside conventional physicians in academia, clinical settings, and research. Naturopathic doctors provide patient care based on a foundation of conventional and integrative medicine. So there you go. Like the osteopaths first started out doing manipulation like chiropractors and then decided they wanted to be able to prescribe drugs like the medical doctors. And so today they've just basically become medical doctors again and kind of lost that focus of natural healing as a whole. Looks like naturopaths are kind of that way too. They're trying to bridge the gap, I suppose, between the two philosophies. Are they accomplishing it? I don't know. More and more insurance companies are covering treatments by naturopathic medicine, naturopathic medical patients, are as diverse as our general population. The top conditions treated include digestive, GI disorders, women's health. Basically, they're just saying we can treat everybody for anything.
We treat it all.
And we can treat it all, and we try to take a natural approach before we go towards medicine. And I think that's great. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Naturopathic doctors and homeopaths are not the same. Homeopathy is one of many tools in a naturopathic doctor's therapeutic toolbox. So, and we'll talk in a minute here about homeopathy. Licensed naturopathic doctors work in primary care settings across North America and are able to manage most outpatient concerns typically seen in primary care practices. So they're considered primary care physicians. Chiropractors are also considered primary care physicians in many states because you can do the initial examination, you can evaluate a and come up with a diagnosis, and then you can either make recommendations and provide treatment for healing to help the body heal, or knowledgeable enough to refer to someone else if we can't help. And then here, last myth. Just because something is natural does not necessarily mean it is safe. And we've talked about that before too. Natural products may have side effects and contraindications. Licensed naturopathic doctor before beginning treatment to ensure that what you are taking is appropriate and safe for you. And that's what we always recommend as well. Like, we'll prescribe supplements to people. I use a lot of the standard process supplements. By the way, you can go to our site and order those on holistichealth.standardprocess.com. We always recommend that people shouldn't just start taking something because they read something online about how this helped or that helped. We talk about different things, like we talked about vitamin C today. We don't ever recommend, based on what we talk about, just go taking that. Yes, can you read online, oh, this helps this condition, this helps that condition? And yeah, does it seem a little cheaper if you just go buy it and start taking it on your own? The problem is, you're basically self-diagnosing. Have you had the education? Have you had the insight, the training, the experience to be able to self-diagnose your problem? And if it's an ongoing problem, you may be actually become over time more well-versed than most doctors are in your condition. If it's a chronic condition, someone who's had 27 different treatments and nothing's helped, you may become more educated over time in that thing. But the majority of people don't have that education or training, and so they need to go someone who does. I always recommend to people you should always get a second opinion, because you're likely not to get the same opinion from two people. You probably can be fairly sure that it's probably on track. But if you get opposing opinions, you may want to go to a third one until you get two that agree, because that's why they call it a practice. We're all learning and basing everything on signs and symptoms you see when someone comes in for your help, and no one's perfect, and sometimes you misdiagnose, or you try one thing and doesn't quite get it, so you try another, and that's why it's called a practice. Results aren't always immediate. Sometimes when you go the natural way too, you don't see an immediate reaction. Whereas that's another thing, because you have a high concentration of medicines, they often get an immediate reaction, whether good or bad. But usually you go the natural route, it typically doesn't, even though they mention here sometimes natural doesn't always mean safe. Majority of times it does, because typically when you take supplements, you're not going to get an ill side effect from them, but it may take longer for it to resolve whatever problem is you're trying to fix. Wanted to end here by talking a bit about homeopathy and what homeopathy is. Homeopathy, also known as homeopathic medicine, is a medical system that was developed in Germany more than 200 years ago. It's based on two unconventional theories. And this is a government agency a little bit down on things, and we've learned over time that the government, along with influence of pharmaceutical companies as well as the medical associations, will anything that becomes a potential threat to them and their financial benefits, they'll put down. They do it in the guise of we care about your health, and I'm sure there are many that do, but there are always those that don't. Anyway, so these guys kind of run down homeopathy. Let's talk about what it is. It's like cures like. The notion that a disease can be cured by a substance that produces similar symptoms in healthy people. Law of minimum dose. The notion that the lower the dose of the medication, the greater its effectiveness. Homeopathic products are so diluted, and this is a negative comment, many homeopathic products are so diluted that no molecules of the original substance remain. Homeopathic products come from plants, such as red onions, arnica, poison ivy, belladonna, which is a nightshade plant, stinging nettles, minerals such as white arsenic. Homeopathic products are often made as sugar pellets to be placed under the tongue. They may also be in other forms such as ointments, gels, drops, creams, tablets. Treatments are individualized or tailored to each person. So oftentimes in homeopathy is something that is used by naturopaths. There are some of the philosophy of homeopathy that ties into companies like Standard Process a little bit. For instance, some of their theories, which has been around for centuries, thousands of years, is if you've got a liver problem, eat liver. Got a kidney problem, eat kidney. There are benefits to, interesting enough, and I think we mentioned it too when we were talking about detoxing the kidneys, that kidney beans are actually considered good for the kidneys, and they're shaped like a kidney. Kind of ironic, and I think that's why they originally called them kidney beans, because they were shaped like kidneys. So there is some tie-in there, but you'll find that naturopaths often use homeopathy. in their practices, or there's a certain percentage that do. They'll actually mix up concoctions for their patients. And so something done with allergists might fall into this category in a way. One of the things they do that they've found beneficial for some people is, let's say you're allergic to grass or a certain type of grass. Let's say you go lay down in the grass and roll around, you get up and all of a sudden you got rash all over your body or on your arms or legs. One of the things that some recommend, and in the case of homeopathy, some allergists, medical allergists also do, is they take whatever it is in the grass or the grass itself, break it down, expose you to it in small amounts, very small amounts over time. And so your body over time builds a resistance to it. It's not just a whole bunch all at once, so you don't have, your immune system doesn't go on fire. What it does is it just gives you a tiny bit of it, little bit at a time. And so your immune system becomes more accustomed to it, and it doesn't immediately react to it in any great way. So that eventually, as you expose yourself over time to more and more and more, it's like, maybe you've seen movies where you got the guy who exposes himself to a poison in small quantities and then can take a whole bunch of it all at once and it's not going to kill him, whereas he poisons someone else and gets away with killing the other person. I saw a movie like that not long ago.
Oh, wow.
Kind of similar principle, whereas you can build up an immunity to things, kind of falls on the other side too. If you look at the other side of the coin, how your body can build up a resistance to things like drugs and even sometimes when people who take mind-altering drugs, they build a resistance to it. So they got to have more and more of it. Some of the drugs that medical doctors will give you over time, you build up resistance, so you got to have more and more of it to have an effect. Other side of the coin there. So that's how that homeopathy works. It's about giving you small amounts of things so that your body over time benefits from it. And kind of, I suppose that falls along a way of supplements too, and nutrition and food. Really, you think about it. You eat well, your body's taking in the nutrients on a daily basis that it needs, and it continues to function well. You're providing it all the nutrients that it needs. Or if you get sick, and then you supply it with the things that it may have been lacking because you got sick, or because you got sick because of toxins that we mentioned previously. So it's a whole process. And this is why, again, we recommend seek out a natural health care provider. Look at their credentials. Look at their understanding of things in their field, and help. They can diagnose your problem if what they do for you to help those kinds of problems, and you want to proceed with treatment, then do so. I tell people, don't go to drugs and surgery right away. Seek out natural means first. In the long run, it could be less expensive and more beneficial. Your body has the ability to heal itself. Trust that. See somebody or study yourself. Learn what you need to do to remove the interference and provide the body what it needs to help it heal if it's sick. Get a greater understanding over time, whether through, we're about helping people maintain their health. Chiropractic has always taught that getting regular adjustments helps your body maintain its health, because it keeps the cerebral spinal fluid flowing to the nervous system, to your end organs, the blood flow flowing, the lymphatic flow flowing, and everything working right. So I always recommend people get regular adjustments. You should see your chiropractor once a month and just get adjusted and keep things working, keep things moving. You should get out and exercise daily. Walking is the best. Keep your nutrition up with eating lots of fruits and vegetables on a daily basis. And I'm focused. I'm a firm believer that fish is the best form of protein out there, the healthiest. I tend to stay away from red meats, though once in a while I enjoy having a steak. I'm not totally against other forms of meat, but I don't think they're as healthy as the fish. So eat a healthy lifestyle. You'll avoid all kinds of health issues, and that's really the answer from my perspective.
The naturopathy is kind of in the middle between MD and chiropractic, except they don't do the physical.
Yes, and they're actually some of the chiropractic schools today now teach. You can get a degree in naturopathy as well. So there's overlap. Anybody focused on natural healing, I'm all for. Personally, why spend the time learning about how to prescribe medications? For me, it's just if I feel like someone needs the drugs because what we're doing just isn't working, it's rare that I do that, but I'll refer them to a medical doctor. If it's emergency care, injuries, you got fractures, you got open wounds, go to the emergency room. If you got disease and illness, It's funny enough, most people go to chiropractors, acupuncturists, naturopaths, etc. as a last resort. They've gone to the medical doctor, they've taken the drugs. Another thing people don't always understand is, what is a disease? A disease is a group of symptoms. A medical doctor out there, a group of medical doctors or scientists decided, okay, they went through and studied and said, okay, we have a group of symptoms. We're seeing this group of symptoms in several people. Let's say there's 15 common symptoms. Well, 10 of them exist out of these 100 people we've looked at. And so we're going to call this disease this. If anybody that comes in with at least these 10 symptoms, they have this disease, and then they have this disease, or they have this disease. And so they put names on everything. A natural healer tends to look at things as, you don't have irritable bowel syndrome. What you have is inflammation of the bowel being caused by what? Dysfunction of the gut, dysfunction of your microbiome in your gut, on and on and on, dysfunction of your immune system. We all need labels, and so they've gone through and put labels on everything. And when you have a label and you're into prescribing drugs, okay, oh, you've got this group of symptoms? Okay, here's this drug. It'll cover up those symptoms. Likely won't heal you, but it will cover up so you're not suffering. It will help the pain go away. It'll help you so you don't have diarrhea all the time, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But typically those medications don't heal anybody. Cancer treatments, I think, is just barbaric today. All the chemotherapies and all the suffering that goes on with the chemotherapies. Basically, the philosophy of kill the cancer, but don't kill the patient. But let's take the patient almost to the level of death in the process of killing the cancer. I just don't get it. But if you feel, I tell people, do what you have faith in. If you have faith in that process, go do it. Because the faith in and of itself is partially what I believe is what's healing you to begin with. If you really believe in something, you do, and it will be useful for you and heal you. The medical doctors would call it the placebo effect. I think it goes way beyond that. I think your body has the ability to heal itself all inside you, and part of that, even though we've said give it something, the body something it needs, take away what it doesn't need, there's also that third inner factor of faith and belief that what you're doing is going to heal you. If you believe what you're doing is going to heal you, I don't care what it is, it will.
Yeah.
You just have to believe strongly enough.
Yeah, it's almost like coming to something with a negative attitude versus a positive attitude. Your energy's good, you feel better.
Yes. It goes back to that when I mentioned the book and the movie, The Secret, part of that philosophy. And they give examples of people who have overcome cancer, done virtually zero other than emotional health, and their cancer went in remission. And during that process, they focused on positive things. They watched funny movies. They reiterated on a daily basis things like hypnosis, things like meditation, and they just focused on the positive and the belief system. Their body had the power and the ability to overcome it. I'm not telling anybody out there don't go do the things the medical doctors do, because in America they control everything, and to say otherwise, can get you thrown in jail. It can take away your children because you don't do what the medical standard is, as if the medical standard is the only thing correct and right today. It's a travesty, in my opinion, in America today, that people's rights are taken away. And more we're seeing it now with COVID. We could do a whole nother podcast on COVID, and we should, about all that's happening in America with that, and how they're taking away our rights and convincing people that they've got to have the vaccines. I really think the day's coming when you won't be able to buy or sell or go anywhere without having had a shot. We're just going insane.
Wow, it's crazy.
Again, back to big pharma and control.
Yeah, somehow it leads us back there. Interesting, Dr. Kell. I tend to get like a little confused with all the different things like osteopath, naturopath, and going down that rabbit hole.
It is confusing, and the general public is not completely aware of the differences. So I hope that helped give people a better understanding.
Help. Yeah, to understand the difference. So thank you, and thanks for explaining about homeopathy. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. We hope you found answers to what is naturopathy. And if you found this helpful, please tag a friend or family member to listen as well. And Dr. Kell, is there anything else you'd like to mention?
We should mention our sponsor and mention our email address if you have questions.
Okay, and the email address is healthtalkwithdrkel@gmail.com, and that's DRKELL@gmail.com. And what was the other thing?
OceanBayNaturals.com. You can go there and connect with the natural products that they make, and they only use ingredients that are safe and healthy for your body, health and hygiene products.
Safe and healing.
Safe
Speaking
and
of healing.
Yes, they're all about that and getting away from all the junk. There's so many bad things, so many chemicals out there that, again, approved for use by the FDA and other organizations that say they're safe when they're not. And the other thing, too, if you're interested in standard process supplements, you can go to our website at Standard Process called holistichealth.standardprocess.com and order supplements there.
That's great. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will catch you next Tuesday. Thanks, Dr. Kell.
Thank you, Nikki. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.